Hello, caller.
How you doing?
What's up?
Yeah, I'm enjoying this program. I'm just trying to say back to he was every Saturday. I've been knowing I'm 67. So I like to say you 40. But these people committing crimes, getting a slap on the wrist,
Yep.
lawyers making money, the prosecutors making money, the judges has got cases so far bagged up. Remember that one judge, they had to let her go. She had cases that she hadn't done in years.
Mm-hmm.
And then you get in there, and every day you're in jail, you get a day off for good behavior. You can kill somebody, they not coming back, and you get a day off for good behavior. So they give you, oh, he got 60 years. You're not going to do 60. You'll do 30 or less.
Mm-hmm.
So why do they keep coming up with that talking about like they really putting some time? They got 60 years, 2 life sentences, like you're going to do a life sentence in jail and then come back and do another one. So as long as they letting the people get away with it and the police do their job, arrest you, what they do, they let them pay, post bond, put them out on an ankle monitor, and put you right back on the street.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your call. You know, I have never been a fan of mass incarceration. I'm not a fan of, look, America has more people in prison than any other country. You know, America has a quarter of the world's prison population. Now, I mean, we're only 5% of the world's population, but we have a quarter of the world's prison population. Think about that. Just think about that. We have a quarter of the people incarcerated in the entire world. And black men specifically are the most incarcerated people on planet Earth. There are more black men incarcerated in the United States of America than there are women incarcerated in the entire world put together. Think about that. We incarcerate more people. We put people in jail longer than any other country in the world, but are not safer. I'm not saying our caller isn't right in some instances. But I am saying that mass incarceration has not shown that it is the answer. Because, I mean, we talked about this the other week. American police are the third highest funded military force in the world. They'd be the third highest funded military force on the face of the earth, of the planet. It'd be the United States first, China second, and then the U.S. police, the American police. Do you guys feel safer than they do in England, France, Germany, Switzerland, Japan, Canada, or anywhere else? I don't think so. So, again, you know, Americans, you know, I think a lot of it comes from our sort of Protestant background or maybe our Puritan background in America. We just say lock everybody up, lock everybody up. We already do in comparison to everybody else. And again, now here, you know, we have to start making some real decisions of the type of society that we want to run and that we want to live in. We have to start asking questions about the great disparities between rich and poor in this country. Particularly LA, where most of these killings, a lot of these killings of black celebrities are happening. I mean, Biggie Smalls was killed in LA. P&B Rock, we just talked about, was killed in LA. There's been a lot of R&B singers, a lot of NBA players, NFL players. They just tried to rob LeBron James. Of all the people that you would target, LeBron James. This is a brother who sends hundreds of black kids to college. This is a brother who married a sister, has a beautiful black family, has never hesitated to bring his friends and people in his community in Akron, Ohio up with him. And yet these black people, because that's who it was black people targeted LeBron James to rob him. Thank God they were not able to succeed in robbing LeBron James and his house. Thank God. But they were trying to rob him when they were caught. He was targeted along with Rihanna. These were black people saying, I'm going to rob some of the biggest beacons of light in our community, people who do for hundreds, thousands of other black people, hire people, send people to college, do all these great things in our community. I'm going to rob them. Clarence Avant. We just saw the death. We talked about it on this show. The death of Clarence Avant's wife. Clarence Avant and his wife were in bed. This is the godfather of black music. This man has done more for black music than just about anybody other than maybe Berry Gordy and maybe James Brown or somebody like that. And his wife was murdered in her home by a young black monster. Because that's what he was. To do that to a woman who was 80 years old. You know, a lot of this, I've said before on this show, we in America have a culture of death in total. That's why you're seeing white kids shooting up their schools. That's why you're seeing white kids doing all kinds of horrific things now. You know, massacring all their classmates and things like that. But in the black community, you know, as the saying goes, when white people catch a cold, black people catch pneumonia. Okay, our culture of death has become, that's a real pandemic right there. That's a real epidemic right there. And I've said it before, I think a lot of it is because over the last 50 years in American history, we have become such an anti-family society. We have dismantled the family in this country, particularly the black family, thanks to mass incarceration. There are millions of black men who have been mass incarcerated, who have not been able to be fathers to their kids, you know, or have been murdered. Unfortunately, you know, we get murdered a lot. So between death and incarceration, so many of us have not been able to take care of our responsibilities as men to our and be fathers. And then you have the economy, the American economy, that has ruined lots of the futures of black men in places like this. You know, we've had this conversation before. My father started working in the steel mill at 18 years old. He graduated from high school the same day he started working in the steel mill. And worked there for 45 years until he could retire. That's not what happens to young black men anymore. Not in this country. And we're even seeing it now with white people. You know, where we've been for the last 30 or 40 years, white people are now just starting to realize how screwed they are and how the economy has screwed them up by sending jobs overseas. We have a anti-family culture, the right wing in this country, and its predatory capitalism, its neoliberal economics, destroyed labor unions, destroyed labor jobs, sent jobs overseas, first in our communities, which is why our community started to crumble, and the men started to either drop out, whether it's due to drugs or crime, or, you know, fall into lives of despair. And then they aimed the prison industrial complex at us in '71 with the war on drugs started by Richard Nixon. And so we've just seen over the last 50 years, the decimation of the lives of the black family in this country, thanks to mass incarceration, thanks to deindustrialization and white flight and all these things that have created this vacuum in our community. And then, you know, I'm not just going to blame it on the right. The left has something to do with this too. Okay? The left, feminists started telling women that being mothers is slavery, basically. Being a mother is being a slave. Being a wife and mother is a slave. I just saw a Marxist, a self-proclaimed Marxist, having a conversation a few months ago with the funky academic, my guy, Ermi Osei Frimpong. You guys really need to check him out on YouTube. the Funky Academic. He has a lot of great content about stuff like this. And he was actually saying to this white woman who's a Marxist, you know, you guys as white women, you could always just get married and have kids. And that's your bailout plan. You can always do that. You don't have to get jobs. You don't have to have good jobs. You can just get married if you're of a certain social class. And this woman said, sex slavery? Are you talking about sex slavery? She considers being a stay-at-home mom and wife sex slavery. So the left is telling women that either, you know, kids are, you know, your career should always come first. Kids are a burden. If you don't want the kid, you can just abort the kid, okay? And then you can have kids when you're like 48 or something, which a lot of them are finding out that that's not going to happen after delaying having children for so many years. So you have one group of people saying that there's no reason to get married, there's no reason to have kids, it's all slavery and a burden. Then you have the other side that's made it impossible to get married and have kids because they completely dismantled the working class for most people, particularly young men. You can't run a society like this. You cannot run a society like this. You cannot run a society where you make it hard for young men to get working class, well-paying jobs that will pay them a living wage to get married, to have kids, to be stable. You know, what you will get is what we have, which is chaos. And again, white people catch a cold, black people catch pneumonia. We have chaos. Since the 1970s, we have had chaos because we have not had the generations of strong black fathers that we have needed to right the ship on this. And so this is where we're at now. I've said before, I truly believe, don't get me wrong, I love fathers. I think fathers are great, but I do think that mother is the most important job in our society. I really do. So me personally, if I was president or something, I would do what Vladimir Putin has done, which is I would pay people to get married. I really would. I would pay people to get married and have children. Because people who come from stable two-parent homes, guess what? They're not out robbing people in the streets over a necklace and murdering a father of two over an Instagram post. That's not something that somebody from a stable two-parent home does, okay? When I think about the difference between myself and a lot of the people who grew up right here in Gary, Indiana, at the same exact time in the same exact place that I did, what was the difference between me and them? Why are they dead and in jail or did all kinds of stuff where if they not dead or in jail, are lucky to not be dead or in jail? And why am I currently talking to you now on WLTH? And that is because, and I truly believe this, because I had my mom and I had my dad. Think about it. Be right back after this.